You know,
Oh, wow.
I hated coming home. I would find excuses not to go home.
That encouragement.
Yeah.
I always do. I'm always like my son. I'm like, you're a champ and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. Like, even if he does things wrong and backwards, like he'll put his shoes on the other way. You know, whatever. It's like,
And that's so unlike what Christ intended the church to be.
So I have a question for you, Chris. Were you on that poll?
which one is she talking about? Me?
Talking them down.
Yeah.
And that's what you're building up in them.
Yeah.
Now you have those select few that don't even fall into that and they go do their own thing anyway.
Yeah.
But it kind of ties into what you're saying. It's like how you talk to them even from a young age, what you're building up.
Just the two of us.
We're
We
good.
can make it if we try.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just singing that earlier.
Okay.
And
Welcome.
now we can add in E. 'cause,
Welcome.
You know,
Welcome.
You gotta say
made it
just the
happen.
three of us.
to the living room.
Woohoo!
Yeah. We
have
made it.
finally made it. We had an hour of technical delays. I got cursed out by Chris D.
Yeah.
He tried to
Not
act like he wasn't
Chris D.
angry.
D.
No, Chris
Not
D.
Chris D.
He act like he wasn't angry. He was
Not-
like, I'm not angry. You need to get your life together. I don't have time for this.
I
You know?
I did
so
not say that.
No, Christy.
now we're good because as soon as he said, "Oh, we're good," the biggest smile came off his face.
I'm not mad anymore.
I'm like, dang, I
real
don't want to be
angry.
on his bad side. I'm like, dang, okay. So welcome to the living room. We made it, episode 5.
Thanks, E.
Woohoo.
Okay, so I've been saying the 3 phrases of what the living room is about. Who remembers it?
All heart.
Mm,
Real
Talk.
mm-hmm.
All heart.
Real lives.
Was it real people? No.
Real people, all heart,
You guys
no
can't-
problems.
I mean, this is episode 5, season 1, and we still can't get it together. So I'm gonna hope
Our
by,
catchphrase.
Maybe that can be our thing.
I'm hoping by like the last
Real
episode
talk.
we are able to get it together.
Real talk.
Real.
So we have a lot of good topics to discuss today.
Okay.
We do.
Before we start, I wanted to go around the room, introduce ourselves. I'm Coach Eddie. As you know, you can hit me up and go on Google Coach Eddie. You'll find me. Thank God for that. You know, I am a motivational speaker. I talk about a lot of life values. I don't like to call them conservative values. It's real life issues and topics that affects all of us. And I am not afraid to address things head on. Boom, bam.
Boom, bam, bang.
And we'll go to the right.
He doesn't even want to say my name. He's so mad at me. Chris G, small business mentor. I help people start businesses. Matter of fact, I'm right now in the process of starting a business right now, the Swirly Penguin. It's an ice cream shop that we're going to be opening pretty soon. And I think there's a lot of intricacies in business that needs to be navigated. And I help people with the whole jungle of business. So that's my passion.
Cool.
And Chris D.
Chris D.
Yeah.
And we don't call her Chris D. We call her Queen.
Queen D.
She just shows up.
The queen.
The queen.
My name is Chris DeBerry. I am what am I? Registered nurse. I am a motivational speaker. Am I a teacher, mentor, spiritual mentor, spiritual life mentor? I guess I should say.
Yes, she's a light.
And I'm a licensed and ordained minister of the gospel. And just looking forward to talking about some interesting things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, welcome to the living room. This is episode 5. We're on a season 1, so there's been a lot of challenges, technical challenges, mental health challenges,
Physical challenges.
different challenges,
yeah.
in getting this season kicked off. Not because we don't have good intention people behind the scenes, working to make it happen, and not because you have Coach Eddie that's going to make it happen regardless. You know what I'm saying? It's just because, you know, we're learning a lot of things. You know, we're learning a lot of things with new software, new equipment, and just getting everyone in place and understanding the roles and responsibilities. So as we travel this journey together that we've been traveling, you're going to see us growing from episode to episode and trying to enhance who we are and what we do and try to give you better quality content. That's the goal. So saying that, we'll just go into topics. So did anyone really have a topic that they wanted to talk about today? I have a couple things I want to talk about, but I'll leave that to because it's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
Why don't we?
I know you have. I know you have some topics. So go ahead.
So for me, it's just AI. How a lot of people, I just been hearing a lot about this whole AI thing, and I've been, actually. If you listen to Chat GPT and you type in your name, or not type in your name, say your name, and it kind of gives a whole script on who you are from your previous things. And a lot of people think that the AI is going to take a lot of people's jobs and out of work. And I can see that happening if you're not ahead of the game, if you're not learning it. And I think it could be good and bad, and it's disrupting industries, whether it be medical, business, script writing, pretty much the whole 9 yards. I think it's gonna, it's an interesting subject and topic because it's gonna affect the way that we view everything. But I don't think it's gonna be as disruptive as people think it is. It's just gonna shift one category to the next, because I think we've always had AI, whether with Google and with a bunch of algorithms that stack on top of each other. I think that's always been there. Like you can Siri type in McDonald's, where can I find whatever, it'll show you that. And I think right now with just the way that it's generating, I think it's just going to generate information and things a lot faster than what we're used to. It's scary because it's not scary in a sense because it's always been here and been used, but now the dependency and automation of everything, like it's like people are completely dependent on it. Like when we went to school, we had to gather and collect information from all these sources and place it together, right? Yeah, and you come from engineering.
Yeah, so engineering background.
Good, yeah.
So now people can they can just rely on it completely and get the information. And a lot of the information be incorrect because the way they gather it is not like a human looking at it. They just guessing based on calculations and what makes sense on what the intention is. But AI can't determine intention. It can't determine anything. It's just based on math.
It's recycled material that's being used, basically.
And it's based on mathematical algorithms. So we are becoming part of this matrix. So we are.
So how do you think it's gonna?
We're literally becoming the movie The Matrix.
So from an engineering standpoint, how do you think it's gonna affect it?
Soon people are just gonna sit there and just wait for computers to tell us what to do next. That's the Matrix,
like
guys.
draw up designs and
stuff.
Then
these corporations are going to be responsible for the AI output. So if you Google a certain thing and we rely on AI and it says that that's the answer, a lot of people say, oh, that's the answer. They're not going to think for themselves. So what we become, if you ever watched The Matrix, we could just stay in a pod. Well, you might call it a pod, you might call it your room. And you sit at your desk or you sit on your phone, and we live in this alternate universe, the Matrix, that's
where you can just upload information into your...
Yeah, and it's ran by a certain set of rules. You can't go against it. If you say certain things within the Matrix, you get targeted. You get the blue pill. Bro, I didn't know I was going to talk about that, but we're in the Matrix. We're in the Matrix.
We are in the Matrix.
We are heading into the Matrix. And I do believe that, like, God does certain things and certain movies. Matrix is one of my favorite movies, But I think that movie is very powerful because it has a lot of, a lot of reality-based things that can happen. And but when you think of if you ever go watch The Matrix.
Watch the Jetsons.
Yeah, the Jetsons.
You're as old as I am.
Like a lot of it is coming true. Yeah.
I was watching
I didn't know.
that showed the Jetsons, that showed like us talking to the person on the other end, and just like a lot of things
Yeah,
that are
like
taking
video
place.
chats and
Yeah,
video,
traveling on airplane to different houses and stuff.
right?
That's all coming.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Even in medicine or healthcare, I was telling Christy that I'm in a class on nursing informatics. And one of the things that it was talking about is just the systems that are being designed that are basically feeding doctors information on. Um, so, like, you put in the patient's symptoms, and then the computer will tell you, basically, give you, they say, treatment suggestions. And I mean, that's cool. And still understanding that, still, it takes the intelligence of the doctor to
decipher it, yeah.
right, to decipher through the information and determine exactly which path you're going to take. But it's easy to see that there's going to come a time, or there could come a time, where whoever's running the systems, whether it's the insurance companies or who's ever reimbursing the treatment plan, that they can determine, and they can say, well, no, it said that you should go with number 1 and you went with number 3. Why did you go with number 3? And we're not going to pay it unless you go with number 1, because the computer says that this is what it should be. And unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, when you're dealing with healthcare, one of the issues is that everybody's body does not respond the same. And there are some things that work great and wonderful for one person that could be deadly for someone else, you know? And those things you can't tell by a computer system. You know, you just never know. You can give a patient a medication and they can tolerate it one time, and then the next time, you know, they can have a serious reaction to it. So it's just crazy just to think about. It's scary to me to think about what the systems that we are relying on that are, I think it's like, Eddie, like you were saying, it makes us not
Think.
Yeah,
That's interesting, yeah.
we're getting lazy in our thinking, our reasoning. We just take the information that people give us, and nobody really processes that stuff and thinks about, well,
But
what
think
does that
about
really
the
mean?
ultimate goal of everything. The ultimate goal of a bigger agenda is to not allow us to think for ourselves and to have independent thought.
Or to manipulate the information that's inputted as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why are they
It's still the
manipulating-
same thing, the same
Why are
principle.
they manipulating the information for us to not have independent thought so others can be in control? So a lot of stuff, especially on this platform, that I always kind of push is sharing your story, because there's such an attempt. If you look closely, I've been looking closely, there's such an attempt to steal your story. Like, if you watch Dateline or any show that talk biography, there's other people telling other people's stories. And those same people might be in prison or gone or whatever, but that person who went through the experience hardly tell their own story. And you hear all these different perspectives on what they think, and people accept it. And I'm like, wow, people are sharing stories about somebody else. And I guarantee you, if that person told a story, like, no, that's not
It'd
how
be
it
totally
works.
different.
You know, so their perspective is. So I want to encourage everyone, because there's an attempt. There's a bigger attempt here to steal your story or steal who you are.
Be the
So,
editor of
yes,
your own story.
be the executive producer of your own life.
You know what that makes me think about is the thing with Michael Orr. You know, the movie The Blind Side,
Yeah.
where
Oh,
they
exactly.
told the story.
He
They
didn't even show up on set.
Oh yeah, they just
They told his story. He didn't show up on. Are you doing a whole story on the man, and they didn't show up on set at all?
that's crazy.
He didn't show up on set at all. And then years later, we come to find out.
It's totally from the Tui's perspective. No, you know, all throughout the thing, and Michael is like, or since it's come out, he's like, well, that's not exactly how it was, or no, you know, that wasn't really true, and whatever. And then now we're finding out that there's a whole lot to the story that wasn't being told.
Yeah.
You know, and
Somebody
it's the
else
same
is
thing.
writing
Like,
his story.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But if you look through history of the ones that was able to tell their whole story, even though I'm not a big fan of her, you know, at all, but Beyonce takes control of her own story. You know, or there's certain people that take control of their own narrative and won't refuse to allow somebody else to, you know, and they would attack when someone trying to come against their own narrative or their own story. You know, so it's important for us, as you know, just to free people to tell our own story. But when there's gonna be a goal and an initiative or bigger, it might come through AI, it might go through something else, it might come through your fantasies, it might come through whatever mean it comes through. It's always gonna try to strip you from telling your story or having your own perspective and becoming a robot and being somebody else.
It's like when Jay-Z said, I'm probably gonna butcher the quote, but he's like, "I'm a businessman." No. When somebody was like, "Hey, you're a businessman," he's like, "No, I am a businessman."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you gotta pretty much like you are the business of your own life. You know what I mean? So basically, he's writing his own.
You gotta be the executive producer of your own life, and other people can still tell your own stories, but make sure your story is out there. Yeah. And document it and clearly state it.
And don't let AI tell the story for you.
No, but what's gonna happen is a lot of people, and it's already happening. They just take AI word for gold, and they receive it and say, "Oh, this is what AI said," blah blah, blah, and then say, "Oh, I got this from AI," and that's scary because now these corporations, once you get conditioned and trained, they can control minds. It's scary, bro. It's scary.
Yeah, I was listening to a video not too long ago, and it was talking about education, the educational system. And the guy on there was saying that years ago, certain figures who are very influential, that they wanted to, they had this influence over the educational system, and they wanted to design a system where they had a lot of worker bees, in the sense, you know, instead of having a lot of kids who are intelligent and problem solvers and critical thinkers. They want people to just do the job, you know, whatever the simple job, not think about whether or not they should be being paid more for the job or whatever it is. And so, in other words, and so they were saying that these individuals, that they influence the educational system. And I mean, even now you can see that problem solving, critical thinking is just like, it doesn't happen as much, you know. You tell people anything and they believe it, you know.
Yeah, it's bad.
And that points me is, I don't know if you guys know or not, but I'm not big on the whole educational system in and of itself.
It's scary.
Well, I think it's, you know, and I think we talked about this earlier, how, you know what I mean, a lot of the information that's out there in the schools is pretty much recycled material used over and over again, and getting you to pay for the classes that off of previous recycled material. So
they just want you to regurgitate the information that they pour into you.
Yeah, so I think in saying that, what I'm saying is, I think AI could be good and bad, in that there will be there'll be new information coming out, and then it's up to us to edit that information moving forward. Yeah, I mean, because I think we're gonna have a lot faster and probably a little bit more accurate information, because it's pulling from different sources.
So could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who's us?
In regards to?
He said it's up to us to edit.
So let's say it's up to that's a good question. Yeah. Who is us?
Yeah, meaning
so
like
people
who's gonna be responsible to edit, and
who's inputting the information for the AI?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's the scary part about it.
Yeah.
If there's no systems, that's why people don't like to rely on the government, because even though government might have good intentions, they just don't know how to they're not like, they are, the government are full of people, you know. So it's like you got to put in these safeguards, because intentions are not good enough, you know. Some things start off good. You look at Cuba, they start off good intentions. I want to feed everyone. I want to make sure everyone gets a hospital. Have access to a hospital. I want to have everyone have access to money. I want everything. But look at now, what I'm saying, certain philosophies and ideologies don't work. Good intentions is not enough.
I don't think it's just a philosophy. I think it's the motives of those who are in leadership. You know, if people are being motivated by greed and they're power hungry, then any system that they try to operate is going to be corrupt.
Look at the healthcare system.
Exactly.
Oh, we talked about that earlier.
You know,
I would even go higher than motives. I would say if their motives were even good and they had a certain philosophy and whatever, it's still gonna be corrupt because good motive and good philosophy is not. It needs to be based on, for me, like there's certain things that are outlined in the Bible that's kind of gives everybody an understanding, and that should be the source of like any good structure. And all goodness to me come from there. So when you have countries or systems built on anything outside of that, it's gonna
built on bad principles.
Bad principles, or not, or built on not believing God is God. Ultimately that's what it comes down to for me. Like I feel
but
like
then everybody has different gods. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Jesus. That's what I'm saying. When I say God is God, Jesus is God, and what like there's one God. I mean, I know people believe they have alternate gods or whatever. That's your choice or whatever. But looking at from my perspective and what I see, all these systems become corrupt, even when they have good people with good motives and good intentions and good this and good that or whatever, because they don't have the right perspective of who Christ is. So it's gonna eventually they don't know how to delegate goodness. They don't know how to be the reigner of good because they don't know the source of goodness. So therefore, it always gets corrupt. There's certain roadblocks that even when I get egotistical or get big or builds whatever, the Bible humbles me and brings me to a certain place of thinking, a certain place of being, and a certain place of conviction.
So
There's
many
no
things to look at
conviction
in there,
outside. So that's. I mean, I'm on my soapbox now, but that's where I think beyond any good, there's no goodness outside of
the Christian principle.
Yeah, that's my belief.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but there's other perspectives because I have a lot of people on my social media. I don't understand why I have a lot of Muslims follow me, but they do.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you?
Yeah.
Are they wrong for growing up that way?
Yeah. No. I no. I mean, I have a. Oh, okay. So, we have low battery on one of the on one of the cameras, so it might cut off, and then we'll just continue it on.
Which camera? No, sorry.
Which camera was it? Was it? Oh, low battery on that on the computer. But you don't have your charger?
All right, that's fine. So we're rolling.
Okay.
But anyways, healthcare.
Anyways.
See that we're tied to electronics. We're tied to a computerized system. What's gonna happen when all this stuff breaks down?
I lost my track. What's it called? But okay, so I have a lot of Muslims that follow me, right? And I love all my brothers and sisters, but they're like, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, whatever. But let me tell you something. It's not only about believing in Jesus. You believe Jesus is God. We don't have the same God. I believe Jesus is God. So therefore, we have two different beliefs. You don't believe Jesus is God. That's it. So we don't have the same belief.
Are you still friends with them?
They can follow me. I don't have no problem. They actually, most Muslims I've encountered, especially I had a tenant who was Muslim in Massachusetts, the best tenant I ever had. They're very good people. Like they seek good, whatever. A lot of them do. But I'm not saying that we have the same faith. And I can be friends with anybody. Will I trust anybody? I don't know if I can trust everybody, but I can be friends with everybody. I can be friendly with everybody. Look. Chris,
he's friends with
me. Think about it. Exactly. I'm friends with you. Yeah. And look at you, bro.
I know, right? Almost choked.
I mean, you should have seen it. Before we got on this, we almost didn't come online, right? We didn't get online.
We were going to do
and we were going to reschedule this. And this guy tore me a new one.
Oh, my goodness.
He just went in on me. He's like, you're the leader. What's wrong with you? I was like, Chris, I figured everything out. Like, what are you talking about? But you did A, B, C, D. I was like, Chris, but what? You're like, and then he was like, oh, we're ready to go. And he's like, the biggest smile came on his face.
This is the smile.
Yeah. Mario Lopez.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyways, he's exaggerating.
All right.
But,
so, all right.
Of course.
I feel like we're in a rush, but we'll make this a 30-minute, thing. I don't want to, like,
30-minute
have it cut off. We have
Wait, I
5
want to go
minutes.
into your subject because he said it's very interesting,
Okay.
and he's raising his hand like he's a kid. At
No,
school.
he got 5 minutes. He's like,
We got
have
5
5
minutes.
He's like,
Let's talk about it in 5 minutes.
All
What
right,
you
5
got?
minutes.
so I want to hear your
Okay.
subject because you said it was
Yeah,
interesting.
it's very interesting.
So the suspense
I
is
was
coming.
like, yeah, but we was talking about other subjects.
Well, we only got
right?
5 minutes, so let's talk about this
But
one.
I mean, we only have 5 minutes. We can just keep on talking.
Yeah,
about
but
it.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
So I was talking about, I have a very interesting subject about like connection, right?
Mm.
I did some social media on this, on what connection really means. Like sometimes I feel like as we journey through life, we think that if we lose a connection, it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think connections may be for a season, it may be for a lifetime, or it may be triggered by an event. Like you might have a connection once, and then an event happens, someone die, or a happy occasion, and that connection is reestablished. It's okay to go through those seasons of life and not hold like anger. Just understand that life is about a fluidity of connections coming in and out of your life, and
seasons.
enjoying every connection as it comes, and being willing to allow connections to go and
Come and go.
yeah.
It's like when somebody closes their heart, like because they got it broken,
Yeah.
and you never trust,
And they don't want to
love again.
connect and
Yeah.
again because they got burned by which is silly. It's like open your heart up and continue to connect. It's okay. Stop holding onto a grudge of a connection being broken. It's kind of immature in a way. Like grow up. I'm gonna say it. Like grow up. Like it's gonna happen over and over again. And just like our kids when they're 5 years old and have all these deep connections with their best
family
friends.
members, yeah.
Not even the kids. I'm talking about 5 years old. Like kindergarten, deep connection with their best friend. They just love each other. The next year, they have a connection with somebody else.
Like, what happened?
It evolves. Like we need to understand that we can evolve and we can connect deeply with people. It's okay. It's okay. And then we can come out of it. We might not see them for a season. Then we come back into it. Give people room to come in and out and stop holding them like hostage to being there.
Relating in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't close your heart off.
Stop holding them hostage. That's
That's the
key
hardest
thing.
thing for people, though, is to forgive.
Forgive
move on,
and let
also-
go, Goofy. I'm joking.
Right?
Something to that.
Yeah.
What if it's someone who's coming to your life,
Yeah.
right? They hurt you. Now letting them back in.
Yes.
Shouldn't there be
Like
Yeah.
a boundary.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you should let them back
Okay, so E asks, what if someone came in your life and you let them back in, but they hurt you before? So how do you bring them back in? So connection doesn't mean that you don't trust. I mean, you just trust people completely. So if somebody left your life for a certain reason, there's accountability. Accountability is key to
in? What if they
everything.
don't have it?
So if there's no accountability, then you can't get connected. Because we are proper kings and queens that God allows us to reign the world. There's a proper order. So if somebody do not want to be accountable, then there's no connection that can be established. When I say connection, I mean proper. I mean like a proper connection, coming together properly, not just hanging out and being around dirt and trash. I mean, my whole life, whoever dealt with me, no, I'm not gonna deal with dirt and trash. That's just not me. So if you don't know how to properly come back and properly account or properly whatever, because I always try to account. I try to account for my wrongs. If I do somebody wrong, I try to account for it, and I try to hear somebody out. But if you don't try to properly
But-
account, then you got to do your thing.
There's another angle to that, too, though.
Yeah.
The way that I would look at it, too.
Yeah.
Is like everybody has something that they're going through, but like I would say try to look at it through their lens.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because everybody
Empathy.
has things that, or even like communication styles. You know what I mean? Maybe the way that you communicate with them is not the right setting or not the right. I think we just talked about that earlier too. Like, there's certain times and ways that you communicate with people at certain times. So I think a lot of the times we don't know how to communicate as people. A lot of that we just never taught that. You know what I mean? Like, how do you communicate? How do you walk in the room and communicate with somebody, like she was saying, somebody passing away or somebody committing suicide, or you know what I mean? How do you tackle that angle? It's not taught in school.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe it's not an issue with trust. Maybe it's an issue with communication. Maybe she doesn't want to communicate with you. Maybe because you haven't provided the right setting. Maybe you're on your phone all the time when somebody's talking. Same thing with my daughter. You know, she called me out on it. It's like, you know, I'm proud of you for calling me out on it. Why are you always on your phone when you're talking to me? I'm like, you know, that's a great question. Put your phone down. We had a serious conversation, and she's crying on the other end, telling me about something that happened in school, you know, with her friends, and she was sitting alone, and she felt like she wasn't a part of the group, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? Had I, it would have been more cognizant of the way that I was communicating with her. She would have been more open to me, you know what I mean, earlier.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not necessarily all about, like, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
So who are we to think that, you know, you got to give trust to the other person too, as much as they got to give trust to you. So open that. I would say communication will be the key. And if you're not communicating right, find out their style of communication.
All of that makes you think about the importance of not just intellectual intelligence, but the new emotional intelligence, which is so huge. I heard TD Jakes talk about it, and he was saying, he quoted somebody else, and he was saying that success rate is more dependent upon your emotional intelligence than it is your intellectual intelligence, you know.
And the sad part, go ahead.
And how you relate to people is more about how you are, the level of relationship is more about your emotional intelligence. I can have friends that I communicate with, and I haven't communicated with them in years. But I also understand that just like I have a life, they have a life. You know, just like I'm busy, everybody else that I associate with is busy. So because we haven't talked, it doesn't mean that I don't care. It doesn't mean I'm not concerned. It just means that I know you have a life. Yeah. And so when we come together, instead of wasting time on the time that we didn't talk or being upset about that, then how about let's talk now and let's catch up,
and
you know?
Some people hold on. Some people hold on to, like, you haven't talked, like, bro, like, let's just hang out.
We're wasting time. You're wasting time.
Let's just enjoy it.
At a different angle, like, oh, well, you never talked to me. Then that would have been a different conversation.
Exactly. You're wasting. Like, you never have the opportunity to really connect because you're dealing with something that's a non-issue. You know,
that was in the past.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I always say, just let people have grace and continue on.
You know,
like, move on. As long as you guys are good and there's no trespass or anything like that. And it is what it is. And even when there's trespass, there should be forgiveness and grace and whatever.
Right.
Once forgiveness is asked. Forgiveness isn't asked, and people just want to be on their own. You don't need that drama or toxicity.
And even the other thing that you were talking about as far as setting boundaries, you know, and being able to, and sometimes you don't know when you're younger how to establish healthy boundaries, you know, and then when people cross them, you know that you're upset, but you don't even know. You know, I had to learn to not let people take advantage of me. I had to learn how to say no. You know, I was a big time people pleaser, and people just used to just full out take advantage, you know. And that's the other thing that we were talking about as far as having mentors, is that it's a good thing to have people in your life who have been where you're trying to get, you know, that can kind of steer you through some of these situations.
And that comes to communication, because if you don't communicate with the other person, they don't know your boundaries.
Exactly.
So that's why I say communication, whether it be trying to get somebody to trust you or somebody who's broken your heart and is trying to come back into your life.
Exactly.
Well, communicate, man. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't hurt to figure out, rather than ignoring them, it doesn't hurt to figure out what their, you know what I mean, what their issue is, why they did what they did, or whatever the case is. And
exactly.
honestly,
honest communication.
Honest communication. Honestly,
honest
life
communication.
is too short to kind of like
hold on to grudges and stuff. Like
to hold on to grudges, but even more is to live in that state of holding on a grudge, because it's more emotional for you than it is for them.
All right, well, this is episode 5 of Living Room. This is a little bit short. Hopefully next time we'll have like everything.
We'll have our stuff together.
Really have our stuff together. The camera was going in and out. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, the Living Room.
Love
just
you.
the two of us.
Yep. Just the three of us.
Just the three of us.
4 of us.
Just the 4 of us. Exactly.
Us and we.
We
we and us.
Just